bam, 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 bam. Everything need to be... Oh shit. We need to make this happen. Okay, that's done. Okay. So yesterday, Formula 1, not Formula 1, Visa Cash App, this amazing name of a Formula 1 team. And also, this is a nice meme, or two memes. How Formula 1 want names to be in Formula 1. I mean, you can't have Andretti and Cadillac. And how this is how cars should look like, and this is how cars shouldn't look like. But it's... So today I will be watching Alpha Tauri and their car launch. This is how, well, the car looked like last year. And I would say I didn't like it so much because it looked so like Haas with the red. So that was more annoying. I liked how it looked before. So let's see how the car look now. Oh shit. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Need to fix... No, I don't need to fix that. Okay. Let's see if we can get it more So I've already spoiled how it almost looked like. I'm not 100%. I've tried to not look how the car is looking. So I would say it's half a surprise on how it looked like. But before I even have seen anything, I think I said it in the last stream I did, that because it is a new Formula 1 car team launch, they could go 100% with the livery. Like, instead of being like the other people, 50% or maybe 100% carbon, they could go for like a U-turn. Like, it's instead of carbon, it's actually color. So let's see. Did they do that? What I've seen, it looked like they have, but let's see. But the naming is like, the fuck. I mean, also this would work if this was for Red Bull, but this is for the sister team, or like nobody care team. So it's like, I mean, this maybe is to show this is the new start for the team, the future. That's really loud. Would YouTube see this as music, or the fuck is this? Here we have Visa or Cash App. What the fuck is this? I mean, if this is the future, the fuck is Red Bull then? Oh, this is interesting. I wonder if they will have a lot of sponsor with gaming and stuff. Maybe Microsoft and Master Chief. Okay, we see some of the car. Okay, that look the wing man look weird. It looked like little like, let's see, we can. Totoro. Okay, but we wanted Toro Rosso. Toro Rosso. Man, how do you spell Toro Rosso? Ah, not together. Ah, it's also Toro Rosso. Let's see, and then we need to let's see. Can we do it? Can we do it in a good way? God damn it. I do it in the easy way. Let's see if the picture will be good. There we have some of it. Let's see. Okay, so this could easily be one of the top livery. It almost no carbon. There you have maybe carbon. The only thing I will say is the biggest complaint is just the wing. And it's just because it looks so weird to have. Oh man. I would call a phone ad on the wing. That's the only weird thing, but everything else is like Master Chief. No. Okay. Okay, let's remove this. needed to be in the paint to actually remove it. But we need to, where do we have it? There we have it. That was from Toro Rosso. We need actually the livery. Where is the paint now? There. Oh. Okay, so 100% better. See, I want to, let's, yeah, that's in the order they are releasing. I want to, no, I want to place them in the order I like them. Okay, Visa Cash App. Let's see. And I've seen something about Mercedes will maybe go fully carbon. That would be annoying to see. But Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren. Oh, I've not seen McLaren, but okay. So we put Visa Cash App RB. There for now, and then with copy the William car. And who will go after that? Okay, I think actually no, Saber. Okay, and then we need, I think actually Alpine. At least I have a color that I actually like, and then we have Haas. So for now, Visa Cash App Red Bull livery is the best. Then Williams. Yeah, Williams didn't have a lot of carbon either. Then Stake, Alpine, and Haas. Let's see, that's 5. Yeah, and then it's 5 left. Oh, Aston Martin will probably have a full nice green color on the car also. Okay. But that was the launch. Let's see. Let's see what Autosport thinks about this. We do that. Let's see, what do we want to see? We want to see this, but this when I will go to the paint. But to make it more fun. Oh shit, do I have... Let's see. The screen capture. I want to have that. Let's see. Yes, and let's see. Do they have something fun to say?
It's a new dawn for the team previously known as AlphaTauri as they launched their new 2024 challenger, the Vcarb 01, in a somewhat confusing launch. Well, gone.
The confusing launch. I mean, they launched the car. Should we seen
Is
something
Red Bull's
else?
fashion brand after 4 seasons. Instead, sponsors Visa and Cash App have stepped in, creating one of the weirdest F1 team names to date, the Visa Cash App.
Is it the weirdest name? In somewhat I will say yes. Because the Cash App is have a app name in it. But I would say Steak, Kick, Saber is worse.
RB. I'm Bryn Lucas, and joining me this time is F1 editor John Noble to talk through everything we've seen from Vegas to
What do you sound so weird?
start with, John.
Wait, the fuck?
Talk through everything we've seen
Okay.
from Vegas to start with, John. You weren't that impressed, really, with the launch, were you? Talk us through your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you call us a new dawn, and it was dawn for us because we were up at 5 o'clock this morning trying to work out what on earth is going on.
And also that I would say, let's see, I will be... Taste that. That. Okay, this we will have on us. See, what will I be doing? Maybe mining. We'll see. I have not seen how far I mined. So the gameplay will be mining. Or maybe a lot to look around.
Yeah, I found the whole thing quite confusing, really.
So mostly no gameplay. Yeah, almost no gameplay.
We've got this kind of a new team, new sponsors, new image, reinvigorated push. You know, 2 great drivers. You know, a launch on the Las Vegas boulevards. You thought this would be something they'd be kind of shouting from the rafters and going all glory, but you kind of logged on this morning. No live stream, not much images, not much warning on what's happening. No interview set up, very little information. And I saw a few tweets from, there were a couple of journalists there. And then suddenly we get an email popped with the images that were released before the actual car had been launched in Vegas. So there's an event going on somewhere. We don't know much about it. I think it had Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem or something. I'm not so big on my rap stars. But so there's this big event, but not much communication. Quite confusing because you have, you know, teams make huge efforts for these launches. We had the Sauber, Steak Sauber launch in London on Monday.
Yeah,
press conferences, speaking to
weird.
people. Great deals with embargoes. Then a nice event revealed the car. Great. Alpine, exactly the same thing. They want you to speak to people. They want you to kind of understand what the team's about, speak about the hopes, aspirations, all that sort of thing.
Do I have
this
a
has been
crafting
nothing.
table
It's
near me?
definitely one of those bizarrest. You know, people have complained about the name, saying it's quite a strange name, but it's quite a strange launch, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, what I won't say is that just before we started recording, our producer Torrin made an appalling joke when you said about, was it Baby what?
Keem.
Baby Keem, and he said, it might not have been him actually, but anyway, said, was Daddy Keem there, to much hilarity. But it's the fact that you had to rifle through your notes to find out who these rappers were, because, you know, it's a weird demographic, isn't it? Who are they trying to appeal to, do you think? Then are they trying to go down a different route to other teams?
I would suspect so. I think Visa's obviously this first step into Formula One, big corporate sponsor. I think a lot's being kind of pushed out of America. From what I understand, there was all this big kind of doubts about the team name, what was happening, delays on when it was going to get announced. Then they didn't announce things, and it was rolled back, and then it kind of did come out. So I think dealing with a corporation like Visa is a kind of a different game from perhaps some other sponsors who've got used to the ways of working of Formula One. Is corporate. I mean, it's great for Formula One to have a big company like that. It's great for the team.
Yeah, but Cadillac, Gim Motors, Andretti, the small names. No need to have them when we have Cash App, Visa Cash App. There we have it.
To have a backer like this, but I think it's this big push for the American market we've seen.
Oh my god. Is that a joke?
Which is all well and good, but if you're a hardcore Formula One fan based in Europe, and I still think that's the vast demographic of Formula One fans. You want to hear from Daniel Ricciardo today. You want to hear from Yuki Tsunoda. You want to know what this team is pushing for.
Actually no.
And there's been almost virtual silence beyond an image or two of the car.
Yeah, you watch out. 2026 will be the Ferrari.
I mean, if this was the let's see, if I click like that, I can go back to. Do they have anything? Live? No. I mean, now, if this was the only thing they did for the launch, I would say it's the best launch ever. You see only the car, and that's it. Then, oh my god, Alpine's live stream. 30 minutes of nothing, of a car that you give zero damn about. So annoying. So lame.
The Amex car or something like that, But it is a bit odd, like you say. We haven't heard from the drivers. Maybe we'll discuss
Alpine's
that in just a bit. But what have we learned about the team? There's been a lot of changes within that team over the last few months. Really.
They actually did a livery. Alpine did a 50% or less livery. Stake did that too. And Haas, I mean, they did the same, so almost nothing. But Visa Cash App, I mean, weird name, but they did actually a livery.
With a new CEO and a new team principal. We'll come to Mekis a little bit later on, but what can we learn about the team itself and the structure?
Yeah, it's a kind of a refresh for the team. I think last year's competitive performances, I think, they were potentially probably not the slowest team at the start of the year, but were well down towards the back. I think then, a bit of reflection from Red Bull under its kind of new CEO, Oliver Mintzlaff, just in terms of, what is it doing in its Formula One operations? It's got Red.
Let's see. Oh shit, I need to have some blocks to. Okay, when I'm running back, something like this I will be doing, but this is the wrong room to actually show off. See if we can slowly get back to the Schulke box. And then we take it out. Let's see. Pumpkins we can use. That's it. Mining out like this. So this is the plan I will be doing. Mining out a big area. So so this will be so I've only done that area, only that corner. This corner is almost done. So we'll be starting the third corner and then the fourth. So this will be fun.
Red Bull.
More fun than Alpine launch, I would say.
Winning virtually everything.
Man,
committed a huge amount of finances to Red Bull powertrains for this bright new era for the Red Bull team. So that's all well and good. But I think then it looked at what was AlphaTauri, and pound for point, it actually cost them more money than Red Bull. So you're thinking, why are we
Wait, what?
I think then it looked at what was AlphaTauri, and pound for point, it actually costs them more money than Red Bull. So you're thinking,
Man, that's sad.
why are we investing all this money? So I think there's a lot of kind of deep dive into what is this team supposed to do. It was originally, the proving ground for junior drivers, kind of shifted a little bit away from that now. Sergio Perez, they took as their preferred option for Verstappen. They didn't want a youngster there. So that's kind of shifted. And I think as a result, they realized it needed an injection, needed to make more of that technical partnership with Red Bull, needed kind of a refresh at the top. So Franz Tost out, in came Peter Bayer as CEO, and Laura Mekies from Ferrari as new team principal. They've pushed on, they've taken Daniel Ricciardo, experienced driver, alongside Yuki, as I mentioned, closer ties to Red Bull. And I think it's just a push to get this team moving forwards.
Tie.
Es ist einfach katastrophal, wirklich. Die Leute, die haben nicht mal richtige Schuhe. Wie ihr sehen könnt, man steht
Is this a
einfach
prank
neben
ad?
dem Wasser.
I think so.
Die Leute brauchen
It's so shit made.
Schlenken
The people that are
und alles. Hi, Leute,
trying
wie
to-
geht's? Wir sind gerade in einem Flüchtlingscamp im Libanon. Es ist
Don't
einfach
make me
nur
believe
geil.
this
Die
is
Kinder haben schlappe
actually a true ad.
Schuhe.
Ja, es ist so kalt.
What the fuck?
We are starting with a project which will help us to provide two
Okay,
full
true.
cows together with the cooking, the rice and
Get that, man.
distribution, which will feed hundreds of families here in Khan Yunis.
You can help provide food for a family for 7 to 10 days.
Inside one of these boxes, we have lots of food. There's dried chickpeas, we have tea. This will provide food for a family for about a week. So please, guys, continue to donate.
Yeah, I still don't believe it.
Let's just stay with Mekies for a second. I was fortunate enough to interview him at the Autosport Awards back in December, and he seemed like a thoroughly nice
shit.
chap. What
Shit.
can you tell us about Laura Mekies?
Yeah.
Because some
Quite. I need to see something. Let's see. Ah, fuck me. Let's see. Yeah, probably. You are probably the only one watching. Well, I can thank you. Let's see. I don't know how fun this will be for you, but sure. Oh, let's see.
people might not know who he is.
No, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Thoroughly nice chap. I've spoken to him many times in the paddock. I've spoken to him outside the paddock. We
Oh.
speak on the phone occasionally.
I don't
Um,
remember. I'm not.
Yeah, ex-Ferrari, I can't remember his official title, whether it was racing director or sporting director, but
Minecraft
effectively
tag,
the
I
team
think.
manager at Ferrari
not
for a while,
done.
previously FIA. Moved to Ferrari in some controversial circumstances because some teams weren't especially happy that he'd come out of the FIA because you get kind of all the information from all the teams and then you join a competitor. Some teams weren't happy, and I was Googling recently, just looking at the background, because RB's actually taken Tim Goss from the FIA, so there's been a bit of a controversy. So I just Googled last time this happened and who was unhappy, and amazingly, the most outspoken person was Christian Horner, complaining about Mekies going to Ferrari. So it's amazing how the kind of the world turns in some respects. But he's understands the game of Formula One, understands how teams operate, understands things from a sporting perspective.
Ooh,
And I think
nice, he
in Bayer
understand.
and Mekies, they kind of cover the spectrum. I think the job of team principal now is probably too big just for one person. We've seen at McLaren how it works so well. You've got Zach Brown on the commercial front, the front face of the team, speaking to public, the fans approach, and Andrea Stella, fantastic engineer, great with the media, works out, good team player, motivates the team, pushes the team forward. I think it's these compliments. I think sometimes a single team principal can get overwhelmed with all that's happening, and I think the Mekies Bayer lineup at RB should work really well.
Yeah, it's a similar parallel to football, I suppose, isn't it? Where you used to have a manager and now you have a head coach and a sporting director that sorts out all the signings and stuff like that. It kind of allows people to thrive in their best position, I guess, is the thinking.
Yeah, I think it's the spectrum of the job of Formula One team principals now so large. There are a few who can kind of get away with it. But you even look at Red Bull itself, Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. Now,
what do they even talk about? So just talk about him. Okay. Really soon, soon will more interesting stuff be mentioned.
they may not agree on everything. They may have differences of opinions about where they go, but they each fulfill a slightly different role in a slightly different arena, and potentially, take away. There are aspects of the job that Christian Horner doesn't want to do, doesn't like to do. I understand, for example, he doesn't particularly like phoning drivers up and telling them, "You're out, you're not good enough, we're getting rid of you." Whereas I think for Helmut Marko, we know what he's.
Okay, that's a new thing if Christian Horner is that way. But
like
sure.
With drivers can be absolutely brutal. So kind of he can fulfill a role.
Brutal.
Christian
Do a
Horner
good job and you
doesn't
say.
especially like
Do a
to
bad job and you.
You see it with Zach and
I mean, that's every workplace. If you if you get hired to drive a truck and you crash it, I mean, for how long will they have you? Probably not long. If you do a bad job and you also crash the truck. So, I mean, this, you can say normal workplace.
Andrea Stella, and even Toto Wolff in the past has done certain aspects of the job, but kind of the more technical sides goes to the technical director, who perhaps has an elevated position at Mercedes, like James Allison. So it's the kind of the James Allison, Toto Wolff both fulfill these kind of slightly different roles.
I have my script here. This opening chat really about the team was supposed to have taken about 5 minutes or so. I think we're 10 minutes in and we've got more to chat about. But let's move on slightly
for
to the
some
car
reason,
itself, because as you say, it was a confusing launch. It was all. I think you referred to it before.
I'm sure it's confusing for people that want to waste an hour of watching nothing.
Started rolling as something like it's like having a Formula 1 Grand Prix behind closed doors and not broadcasting it to anyone. It was a fantastic event, but no one got to see it. So let's talk about the car itself.
Isn't that amazing?
And what we've gleaned. What are your initial
No
thoughts?
wasted time.
Yeah, we've seen some renders of the car, and I think a few images have appeared on social media from people at the launch. But it's hard to check the details. But I'm sure when these cars appear at the test, they'll have the bespoke parts on, but you get a vague idea of what it's like. And I think what we see is just that slight transition towards Red Bull. So last year from the Singapore Grand Prix, pretty big revamp on the AlphaTauri. They took Red Bull's rear suspension, some kind of aero concept shifting more towards Red Bull. And this year's car's the next step. It's gone pull rod suspension at the front, so it has that pull rod front, push rod rear that Red Bull and McLaren have used. We've seen Sauber go down that route as well. So I think that's fast becoming the preferred route for Formula One. A lot of the concepts on the new Vcarb 01, similar to last year. But interestingly, we have a big focus on side pods. We're always looking at side pods and what have people done. And this car, if you look at the kind of the inlet area, which is one of the key areas for performance, it's gone very much down the Red Bull route. Step change from last year. Probably more similar to the RB18 than last year's car, but I think you can just see the kind of personality of the Red Bull with this new Challenger.
Just briefly talk to us about this change in the setup with suspension, because I know you've written a really nice article on Autosport about the pull rod suspension and how it's slightly different, probably better for aerodynamics, but it's a bizarre concept, flipping the suspension upside down. If you could just give us a kind of a top line on the differences between push rod and pull rod suspension.
Yes, it's quite complicated, and I haven't got bits. It's much easier when you do graphics just to explain it. But it's basically where your main components of the suspension are. So if they're low down, when it goes over a bump, they're basically is being pulled, and if they're at the top and it goes over a bump, they're being pushed. Basically, it's very simple terms, and I think Adrian Newey could probably explain it a lot better than I can there.
Or maybe not.
But we've seen this concept. I mean, in the previous generation of cars, push rod was better. You can access the components a lot better. It's not so good for center of gravity. That's not really a consideration as much. But you go for pull rod. It's tucked quite away inside the car, quite difficult to access.
Oh no.
But you're getting a lot of aero benefits now because some key components are out of the way. And I think teams are fast realizing that, you know, one of the key aspects to getting aero performance with these cars is again, get rid of the air around the tires. You've seen the front wings going for outwash. Some of the FIA try to stop teams doing, but it's happening. And it's all about channeling air. You want to kind of power the air that's going into under the floor, that then kind of gets charged by the side pods and the diffuser, and that's your key to performance. So it's basically an aero thing. Even though it was James Keese, our technical director, I said to him, you know, he said normally you wouldn't do this thing because the suspension's inside out, back to front. It's a really weird thing, but for aero, absolute no-brainer.
Well, I reckon you can pat yourself on the back there, John, because I think we all understand at least to a degree the difference between the push rod and the pull rod now. So thank you very much. Well done. It's early in the morning and you got through that little nugget that I threw at you that's not in the script. I should add as well. And now let's go back to the livery, because we've seen a few liveries revealed so far this season, and I'm pretty much
for now the best livery.
A bit meh with all of them. You know, they're all going for this naked carbon with a little bit of colour. Whereas
so bad.
Vcarb RB or whatever they're going to be called, I have no idea. It's a commentator's nightmare, this. But there's some colour here. Is that all going to be stripped back come Bahrain testing?
Wait, did you say just some colour?
Nightmare, this. But there's some colour here. Is that all going to be stripped back come Bahrain?
Some colour? Is that his definition of almost 100% fully livery? Some color. I mean, it's not a lot of different colors, but it's more than some, I would say. For sure.
Rain testing.
Some color.
I don't think we strip back for testing. I think teams are fairly, once they've locked into their livery for the launch, it's unlikely to change unless they realise they're.
And also, I think they want to stick out, and having just a fully livery stick you out a lot. So this sponsor will be really happy.
Massively overweight. I think, you know, teams have been struggling to get down to the weight limit. We found over the winter, for example, that even Red Bull, when it roared its way to the 22 championship, was nowhere near the weight limit. So it was struggling so much. So all the teams are on the edge. We've seen, you know, the paint not be used and bare carbon fibre everywhere. It's just to bring it down to the weight limit. I know some people don't like it. You know, a lot of criticisms that this isn't what Formula One, it should be bright colours and all that sort of thing. But equally, what I quite like about Formula One is everything's about performance. You take everything to the extreme, ultimate performance. That's what, you know, is what drives innovation.
So why have the cost cap down? If you want only performance. Why even have any color on the cars? Maybe remove the rule that say you need to have numbers on the cars also. Why do we need to see the driver's number?
Drives the best brains, it drives the best engineers, gets the most out of designers. And if the best performance means you don't have any paint on the car, then that is part of that kind of that magic of Formula One.
Why film the races also? Just read the news on the newspaper how it went.
You know, you can argue the cars looking too similar. RB have done something slightly different, but maybe it's something that
slightly different. What kind of propaganda is this? Slightly different. I mean, like, against the Williams. Is that, you mean, slightly different? Man, this hate speech against Visa Cash App. I mean, just look at this. You want this? The peak of Formula 1, the carbon car. Color. That's disgusting. Oh, man, I need to place that in a better place. See. Oh. Shit. Okay, if I... Then I can just press much better.
Rule
Hopefully.
change for 26. We get new regs, lighter cars. Not so difficult to get down to the weight limit. But I like this extreme nature of Formula One, where things should be decided by 0.001 second.
Okay.
Because that's what makes it so great.
There'll be some bizarre rule brought in for 2026 that says every car must have this amount of fluorescent paint on them, or something random like that, just to make it a bit more lively. I think it's a nice looking car, actually. I think
the weight limit must be also a big problem for him.
They've done a good job with the livery. It's it's a bit bold, it's a bit brash. We quite like it. It's got something about it. But let's go back to Lauren Meckies then. You mentioned that they've got a new team principal in his position, and he's taken over. We kind of mentioned what sort of person he is, but what can he do at the team? What must he do at the team to help drive them forwards?
I think it's about, as Red Bull have done, it's about
Fighting against Alpine can be a good start.
energizing that team. I think it's kind of making the most of the opportunities it's got. So it's working out how closely aligned it gets with Red Bull. How much of the Red Bull components that it can take, it wants to take. I think it's about making the most of the different departments in the team. You've got your Faenza factory. They've got aerodynamics in Bicester. There's some personnel working in Milton Keynes. So I think it's kind of plotting the long-term path for this team to move it forwards. I mean, the step up at the end of last year was pretty impressive, because AlphaTauri went from near the back at the start of the season to be annoying some of the kind of front runners towards the end of the campaign. It was quite a dramatic step forward. So I think it's about building on that. I think it was going to struggle to break into those top 3-4 teams, because the likes of Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, and even
Mercedes,
quite tough nuts to crack, I think, over one winter. But I think it's about building foundations, stepping stones to moving forwards, because the competitiveness now of Formula One is just incredible. That grid's closing up. There's no room.
I mean, people say that it's so. I mean, they say that in the car also. The times is so close, everything's so close, but you only see one winner. How can it be so close and just so far not so close? How can Max Verstappen and Alex Palou win so easily if it's so close? Every race, man, the lies.
No room for error. No room for error means maybe some of that paint's going to have to come off.
Oh, there we go again. I mean, the AlphaTauri last year, as you say, finished 8th overall. They had some decent point scoring, and I think that there's the top 3, then there's the middle pack, and they're either at the back end of the middle pack or the very, very top of the back pack, if that makes any kind of sense to you.
No.
It's an interesting season looking ahead. Has Meckies got the tools to achieve more than they did last year?
Kan någon bara sätta in en logga för ett elbolag som jobbar för framtidens el?
Nu är det Sparuari.
Kycklingfilé,
99 kronor kilot. Döner kebab, 79,90.
I think they should get into that kind of... The problem is the midfield doesn't really exist anymore. I think...
It does. Alpine is the only midfield team.
You've got, I think, from what we understand, I think Haas are going to start, and have openly admitted they're probably going to start at the back. It's been a big winter of change at the team. They struggled a bit with the car last year. They've not been able to make the progress they wanted. So we're predicting Haas to be there. Alpine's gone for an all-new concept with its car, and the launch was quite low-key, and the message seemed to be, we're going to start the season a little bit on the back foot, but this car's got some big developments. I think they're already talking race 2 the developments are coming on to push it forwards. So we may see Alpine, peg back towards that pack. But in front of that, who knows? Williams is supposed to have made a big step forward. The top.
I mean, are you hoping that Williams will be better than Alpine? But it's really hard to see that.
4 or 5 teams all look really, really quick. So
Visa Cash App can maybe be that.
Midfield now, and I think as Zach Brown mentioned when they did the livery launch last month, he said this is a new Formula One. The cost cap has closed everything up, and in the past, the backmarker team, you could forget about them. You don't need to worry about them in Q1, but every single team now is a threat for Q3. So everyone needs to be on it.
Yeah, for Q3, but not for points.
Small that if you get everything lined up, you can be there fighting for points, impressing, or you can be there
and you need
in Q1
to be there every race.
Well, let's hope there's not too much depression come 2024, through the end of 2024 for any of these teams. But let's talk about the drivers then. Now, there's a bit of a frustration that we've not really heard from the drivers at this launch, because we'd love to know their thoughts, their opinions, that kind of thing. But let's touch upon, first of all, Yuki Tsunoda. So both of these drivers' contracts end at the end of this season. Yuki Tsunoda enters his 4th season in Formula One. Had some good results last year, 6 top 10s, a couple of 8s in there. So he's a proven quantity now, isn't he, going into an F1 season? But with his contract up at the end of the season, what can he do to maybe get himself a drive in the same seat come 2025, or even somewhere else in the RB family, or maybe another team entirely?
I think it's building on what he's done. I mean, I think last year was quite difficult to understand, where Yuki really stacked up, because the car was ultra difficult at the start of the season. Nick de Vries struggled massively with it. Didn't last much long once Helmut Marko got on the phone. Then we saw Daniel Ricciardo come in, looked quick. Then obviously had that crash in Zandvoort, was out for some races. Liam Lawson did a great job as that car came on. So we saw some progress from Yuki, but I still think that the jury's out in terms of just how good is he. Does he have the consistency now you need to perform over a full season? Is he one of those drivers that can be sensational one weekend and struggling the next? So I think just about building on that, because the key in Formula One now, with the way the grid is so close, that you can't afford to have off weekends.
Yuki's future. I mean, his future will be harder when... oh shit, now they're actually going to attack me. When Honda is leaving Red Bull. Oh shit. Fuck. Was it free? So I would say... I mean, he... It's really weird. Will they keep him? Or what will they do with Yuki Tsunoda? I mean, I feel like if they could choose, they will not keep him. I mean, I feel like they would rather wanna promote Liam Lawson than have Tsunoda taking up a place in their team when they wasn't the people that wanted him in the car in the first place. So from my point of view, I feel like he can drive amazingly, but he can still lose the drive.
You need to be on it every single race weekend if you're going to score the points that are going to push your team up the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, and I guess with people like Liam Lawson, you mentioned him coming in when Daniel Ricciardo got injured last season. He came in and he was very impressive, it has to be said. So there's a lot of drivers now waiting that have gone through the F2 route, that have come through Formula 2 and step into a Formula 1 car and can almost do the business straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. There are, I think, racing drivers now arriving in Formula 1 a lot better prepared than they have been in the past. But also, I mean, I think Liam did a sensational job, especially in Zandvoort, jumping into the car on the Saturday, getting through qualifying, going through the race. No huge, tremendous dramas. I think it just looked solid, and he built on that. And I think earned his reputation, reserve driver this year. But I think he'll do that kind of the preparation phase that will make him a contender for next year. But I think Oscar Piastri has shown how you need to approach becoming a rookie in Formula One. That you've got to have that year of testing in old cars, understanding performances, the tweaks you need to do, how a Formula One car works, how the tyres work, all this sort of thing. So the Piastri route, I think now is the preferred route probably for most people. That it's a year out, a year of testing, development, understanding a team, then you're ready to hit the ground running as a rookie, rather than jumping in and having a kind of a bit of a shambolic rookie season because you don't really know how things work.
Yeah, I suppose you end up in the route that Haas went a few years ago. Let's just stay with Yuki for a second, because obviously you haven't got a crystal ball that we can see. It might be under the desk, I don't know. And I don't know if you're a gambling man, but would you imagine... You have got a crystal ball, is it just over your shoulder?
It's all my stuff up there.
Oh, nice. Okay, can you grab it down for us for a second? Would you say that if you were to use your power of looking into the future and all that magic that you have, that we'll see Yuki Tsunoda in a car in 2025, whether it be with Vcarb, whether it's going to be with Red Bull or someone else?
Aston Martin.
I think he's got every chance of being on the grid in 25, but I don't see him as kind of the key, one of the key players in the driver market.
We need to.
I think in terms of the kind of that big Red Bull ecosystem, I think a lot depends on how Sergio Perez fares against Max this season. If we see the Perez that started last year as quite strong, pushing Max on, winning races, and the days that Max wins, he can at least finish second, then I think he's got every chance of carrying on with the team. If we see the Sergio Perez was kind of towards from Miami to 2 or 3 races from the end of the season where he really, really struggled, then I think they wouldn't carry on with him and they'd look elsewhere. Then I think they'd probably look first to see how Daniel Ricciardo's done, just in terms of the experience, the last hurrah. And then outside of that, from what I understand, Alex Albon's top of their list of kind of outside contenders to come in. I think they're pushing to get an option on him for 26 at least, because he's under contract for 25. So I think Red Bull will see probably Albon and Ricciardo as their main options for going forward if Sergio Perez isn't there. And that if Ricciardo gets it, then I think Yuki would keep that seat. Probably Liam Lawson would step up. If Ricciardo's not their man and Yuki hasn't performed, then I think Yuki could have the danger then of being replaced by Liam. So I think his future in Formula 1 next year isn't all down to him. He's got to keep his head down. But I think there's a lot of pieces to shake out in a driver market that I think is going to have a few more explosions.
Daniel och Bettan skrapar precis fram en miljonvinst. Men Danne vill ha riktig romantik. Han vill spela My Lord. Gulle dig. Klart kärleken är högsta vinsten.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting, though, that you mentioned Liam Lawson a few times there. So it seems that no matter what, Liam's probably got a decent chance of sitting and racing in a Formula One car come 2025. Let's move on to Daniel Ricciardo, though, because we know Daniel Ricciardo. He's been around for a very, very, it seems like forever, in fact. He's been around for such a long time, the grinning Australian. What does he have to do to prove himself, and does he have to prove himself this season?
I think establish himself as a team leader. He's got the experience. He's won races in the past. I think the momentum he had hoped to get last year was kind of derailed by the crash in Zandvoort and the injury. So he came back. So he hasn't really kind of got his feet properly under the desk and pushed on. I think he needs to show Red Bull he's the right man to get that kind of probably the last hurrah in Formula One. It would be kind of a nice circle to his career if he ended it at Red Bull having a successful period. But he needs to dominate Yuki to do that thing. He can't just sit there and be happy finishing behind Yuki and not stamping his authority. I think with his experience, speed he's shown in the past, and whereas in his career, he needs to establish himself firmly as the team leader to push it forwards.
If Daniel Ricciardo
If you want to go to Red Bull, yes.
goes to Red Bull for 2025, big if on this, capital I, capital F. If he does that, would Daniel Ricciardo be happy with playing second fiddle to Max? Because let's face it, I don't think Red Bull are going to flip an order around for an aging Formula One driver when you've got someone like Max who's firmly in contention.
I don't think he'd be happy to play second fiddle to Max, but I think he's in a different phase of his career now from when they were last together, and there was, perhaps a feeling sometimes that the team was, favouring Max or looking more towards Max, which I think is just natural in any team. When there's one driver that's performing so well, you always think there must be some explanation as to why this is happening.
Probably.
But I think he'd go to Red Bull more open-eyed about the opportunities, open-eyed about what he needs to do, open-eyed understanding that teams, it's quite rare actually for teams to deliberately favour one driver over the other from the off and deliberately scupper the second driver. Things just naturally happen for various reasons, and the attention. I think he'd be in a much better place to deal with it than perhaps he was last time.
Okay, and what about other?
You can hope, but who knows? He may be will leave again after some years.
The teams elsewhere, do you think that Daniel Ricciardo would naturally stay within this Red Bull family, or would he look to some other team out there?
I think one of the key drivers for this market is what happens at Mercedes seat in 2025, and I think there's no easy answer right now, and probably even Mercedes don't know what they need to do. So I think if Andrea Kimi Antonelli, shines in Formula 2 this year, we have some fantastic season, wins a championship, then you wonder whether Mercedes would feel it's right for him to step up to Formula 1 immediately in 25, or does he need a kind of that George Russell type spell at another team to learn the ropes and step up? So I think that's the key decision they need to make. And if they push Antonelli to another team for 1 year or 2 years, they're going to need a stopgap solution, which probably isn't a driver hoping to build a long-term career at Mercedes. But you could see someone like Ricciardo slotting in there. You could see an kind of Albon or a Sainz or Sebastian Vettel or Fernando Alonso, just someone who's in a different stage of their career to go in there. So I think there are opportunities, and I think Mercedes will be speaking to all these drivers, and I'm sure all these drivers, their managers, have been on the phone to Toto. So I think it's an unclear situation as to what's happening there at the moment. And probably I wouldn't be surprised if there's 4 or 5 scenarios that Toto's got on his desk right now about what to do.
John, let's just stay with the Visa Cash App RB for 2025. Okay. Now, Zach Brown has said that there's this grey area between the partnership with Red Bull and this Vcarb team. Now, I don't think we can ignore the fact that they are intrinsically linked, but what's it mean for Vcarb? Can they be their own team, or are they just going to remain as a Red Bull junior team?
I think they can be their own team, but the route to success for it is to make the most of that Red Bull relationship. I know, McLaren aren't happy about it, but I often think in Formula One that you can tell when a team's making progress because they're annoying their rivals and competitors. So I think the fact that RB's been under the spotlight for the relationship with Red Bull, has been under the spotlight for hiring Tim Goss from the FIA. So I think it shows it's making steps that are annoying competitors. And if you're annoying competitors, you're probably doing the right job, in effect, the way you go around it. I can't believe for a second that Red Bull and RB will be doing anything outside the regulations. I think everything will be done totally within the rules. But on one side, there is a wider question to be had about should a team or an entity own 2 teams in Formula One, because there are clear advantages to having 2 teams. You can gain on marketing fronts, you can gain on distributing personnel to keep
What will they do with the AlphaTauri clothing brand now? Have that also been changed to Visa Cash App? No,
some of your personnel away from competitors. You just put them within, keep them in your own big global structure. So there are benefits to be had, but I think that's a much wider issue, and that goes to FOM, kind of FIA level.
We'll have to see what happens over the course of the season. Now, before we wrap this up, John, I've been asking most of the contributors that come on, most of my guests that come on to this, whether or not it's a hit or a miss. So, Vcarb 01, is it a hit or is it a miss according to you, and why?
It's a hit.
Well, I think the livery is a hit, I like the hit. The launch, a miss.
Go fuck yourself. The launch was amazing. Or do you think Alpine did a great, better job with, man, that's, or steak, man, so bad launches. Holy shit.
Team could be a hit, but we don't know yet because we haven't spoken to anybody. So I'm going to have to do, well, probably somewhere in the middle, actually. I think today could have been a bigger hit, but it didn't happen.
It was a big
sounds
hit.
like fence sitting to me, John. You can't get off the fence. Firmly planted there, straddling that fence. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Thanks for joining me so early in the morning.
Yeah, it's a new dawn, isn't it?
Nice. Yeah, a new dawn, beautifully put. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this one. We're now over halfway through the Formula One launch season. John joined us very early this morning for this chat, and we got another one coming for you on Monday when Aston Martin do the honours. So make sure you join us there for that one.
Aston Martin? Let's see. Aston Martin. Come on, load. Why is loading so bad? Where did I have it? Oh, get it. Here I have it. Oh, so so 12. So yeah, it's a Monday. So this, yeah, in 2 days. Or maybe if I would have done this earlier, it would be in 2 days. Let's see. Then 13 Ferrari, 14 Mercedes McLaren, and 15 Red Bull.
And the rest of the launches with the big guns coming all next week. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Okay, there were Autosport. Let's see. A lot of mean name calling for really great launch, I would say. Then we have 2 more clips to watch from the race. Why this is F1 2024 most controversial car. Steak kick sub is more.
What looks likely to be F1's most controversial car of 2024 has been launched with the reveal of Red Bull's rebranded RB team's wonderfully titled Vcarb 01. Whether it's the new RB name, the new colours, or the new closer Red Bull collaboration, this team has attracted plenty of attention over the winter, and that's not going to change once its 2024 car hits the track. While the driver lineup of Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda is a familiar one, having finished last season as teammates, that's about as far as the continuity goes for the team formerly known as AlphaTauri, formerly known as Toro Rosso. It has a new identity, which a lot of people hate, and a new look, which has at least gone down slightly better. A new person is in charge for the first time in the team's history, as long-serving team principal Franz Tost has stepped down to be replaced by ex-Ferrari man Laurent Mekies. And of greater real significance than all of that, a new car with obvious influence from Red Bull's dominant RB19 of 2023, and a bunch of Red Bull parts maximising how much one team is allowed to buy from another. Closer ties to the main Red Bull team are the source of obvious grievance among rival teams, with McLaren by far and away the most vocal so far. But as we will explain, we expect the complaints to only increase in volume if this car achieves what Red Bull hopes it will. Before we go any further, while this isn't part of what makes this car and team controversial, we shouldn't ignore the fact that the first of 2 Red Bull launches this month comes amid an investigation into allegations made against Red Bull Racing team boss Christian Horner. That's a severe situation that Red Bull would much rather...
Yeah, so I really wonder what did really happen and how much it is blown up.
It wasn't happening at all, let alone now, but the timing is particularly awkward given both teams are in the spotlight and this serious issue is hanging over one of those teams and the parent company. We'll focus on the second team for now though, and we'll have a full video on Horner once the investigation is concluded and the consequences are known.
Nice. Oh, ad time.
Here's the fresh starts. Fresh vibes.
Nobody cares.
Husbands and wives.
First, let's address the obvious. At least this team's bothered to paint its car so it will stand
Yeah,
out.
true. That okay. There we see some black. Okay, but there's still more color and man, so much better than the other teams.
Against a lot of mostly black and dark rivals.
So lame.
As for the details around the new colour scheme, which is reminiscent of the late fan favourite Toro Rosso liveries,
yeah,
the first look
high.
at this Vcarb 01 reveals some obvious RB19 cues. The early renders confirm the anticipated switch from push rod to pull rod front suspension, as instead of building its own front suspension, RB will now take this component from Red Bull. We're expecting it to be from the year-old RB19 rather than Red Bull's new RB20. At the rear, RB continues to use the Red Bull gearbox and rear suspension as it did last year. This is a push rod configuration. Note that the upper wishbone forward leg is mounted lower than the rear leg, which indicates anti-squat. Having anti-dive and anti-squat Red Bull suspension at front and rear is a significant change that should give major gains in terms of controlling the mechanical platform under braking and acceleration, in turn keeping the aerodynamic performance more consistent. But while it should unlock big performance potential, it might take the team a little time to understand how best to set the car up to maximise the aero-mechanical interaction. That's why it's hinted at a relatively slow start to the season, but with hopes for significant progress. We can also see, like other 2024 cars revealed so far, a change in the side pod inlet to the RB19 style design, with the lower part extended further forward and the inlet as high as possible to open up the undercut. The inlet is also a more narrow Red Bull-esque letterbox shape. The change in the inlet is all about minimising the aerodynamic disturbance when the radiators can't cope with the airflow heading into it at high speed. This creates external spillage which has to be mitigated to avoid compromising performance. The rest of the side pod resembles last year's AT04 with a familiar curvature towards the rear and a gully running through the top surface. It looks like the old spec from 2023 from both top and side on views, so this part could easily be different come Bahrain. The nose tip looks slightly different, but the front wing and the floor, which was heavily upgraded to the end of last season, will likely be modified as with most of the cars we've seen so far, and the rear wing also looks like the end of 2023 version. Beyond that, the nature of the renders makes it hard to draw too many clear conclusions. But even with the limited sight we have of this car, the signs of RB19 influence are unmistakable.
So let's see, where could, if they succeeded to make a good car, I mean, that would be interesting if they actually made a so good car that actually fighting against Aston Martin this year. Alpine and Aston Martin.
Most teams are going to reveal cars that resemble the RB19 because it was so successful. Up and down the grid we're seeing front and rear suspension details, side pod inlets and shapes, and floor edge designs that are all inspired by what Red Bull has done to conquer these ground effect regulations. So this car's design features alone aren't hugely controversial in isolation. It's how this car fits into the fact that Red Bull's second team has been forging closer ties to its main one for a while. There had always been a certain...
I mean, closer ties like Williams, McLaren, Aston Martin, Haas, Stake have with their engine buyer team.
certain level of cooperation, running Red Bull design machinery for Toro Rosso's first 4 seasons from 2006 to 2009 before rules preventing customer cars were introduced, but generally the second team has ploughed its own furrow. It had access to Red Bull components, but it never approached it the way Haas does with Ferrari in terms of maximising the parts it could take. Instead, the second team has had a menu of available parts that it could pick and choose from up-to-date specifications to a year old or even older. Occasionally, the up-to-date parts would appear, but generally they were out of date. As Toro Rosso and AlphaTauri, the team usually followed its own aerodynamic philosophy, and there were times when the two teams didn't even have the same engine, most recently in 2018, when Toro Rosso used Honda and Red Bull was still with Renault. Ahead of the 2021 season, the second team completed its move to share Red Bull's wind tunnel in Bedford, something that was made possible by F1 introducing restrictions both on wind tunnel use and occupancy. But the regulations strictly prohibit the sharing of aerodynamic data, so this was 2 entirely separate teams splitting the available time. It was a big boost for what was then AlphaTauri, given it was the last to still be using a 50% scale model wind tunnel, meaning this allowed it to upgrade to the higher fidelity 60% scale, the maximum permitted by F1's rules. Since the decision was made last year by Red Bull headquarters to integrate the two teams more closely, RB is now in the process of moving into a new facility added to the Red Bull campus in Milton Keynes. This move is expected to take place in the autumn, with personnel moving there from its Bicester design office that's alongside the team's old wind tunnel, with some also moving from Faenza. But the Faenza base will remain, with production facilities still in operation and the race team based there, along with various other departments. The partial UK move, though, is a result of increasing pressure from Red Bull centrally to make the most of what's called synergy between the two teams. The rules don't permit full collaboration, but these moves make this more Red Bull's second team than it has ever been before.
So hopefully this will make AlphaTauri. I mean, it was so cool to see Vcarb. But like AlphaTauri were in 2021. That Gasly brought the car up there and could fight against mostly Alpine, I think. But McLaren, it must have been against McLaren also. So we can only hope they made a good car.
Obliteration of any sense of identity and the replacement of AlphaTauri with the RB name is a clear signal of how Red Bull sees the need for these two operations to work closely together. So far it's all been within the rules, and in principle it is no different to what Haas does with Ferrari. But
True.
rivals don't see this team and this car in the same way, partly because it ended 20.
Maybe because Red Bull are winning a lot. So everything they will give Vcarb will actually be good stuff.
23 more competitive, but mainly because these two teams are owned by a single entity. The concerns being raised essentially relate to problematic levels of influence and suggestions things could be manipulated. This has ended up being discussed in F1 Commission meetings. The likes of McLaren have lobbied for collaborations to be clamped down on more in the next set of rules in 2026, and have that supported in the Concord Agreement somehow as well, to put more emphasis on independence within F1's governance, not just its regulations. One concern is that it would be a big advantage if two teams, especially those sharing key mechanical components, were to split the R&D of certain items between them and share development directions or even aerodynamic secrets. F1's rules explicitly prohibit this, and the FIA has said it doesn't believe that's going on, but it has also admitted it wants to be able to conduct spot checks of team facilities at all.
I mean, if they are in the same place, it will be really easy to see if copying or stuff happening.
No notice in the future to police the rules even better. With two teams owned by the same
And
entities,
instead of going to different places, it's just the same place.
Soon to be sharing a campus, that would seem to be a logical priority. Another concern is that this is a team with the potential to become more competitive while sharing complete ownership with another team on the grid, and whether it's a matter of perception or a realistic threat, there has been an implied possibility of collusion to influence sporting matters. That exists almost exclusively because Red Bull is clearly so involved and influential in what its second team is doing. In addition to demanding closer ties to Red Bull Racing, its influence can be seen in a raft of senior RB appointments ahead of the new season. Ex-FIA Technical Director Tim Goss has joined as Chief Technical Officer, Guillaume Catalani moves across from Red Bull to be Deputy Technical Director, while the extremely experienced Alan Permain has been recruited following his surprise mid-2023 departure from Team Enstone, where he had worked for decades. We doubt any of those people would be joining an underperforming independent team. It's Red Bull and the ties to the best team in F1 that gives RB the appeal needed to make such moves happen. What is a truly awful new identity had already been confirmed prior to this launch, but seeing everything in full and hearing how tortured it is to actually talk about the team in recent weeks with such a clumsy corporate name has rammed home everything that fans dislike about what's happened to the second Red Bull team. What is officially Visa Cash App RBF1, which
I would agree until they reveal the livery. Then I would say, oh, thanks to the name, the livery is actually good.
you have to admit we've done a mega job of avoiding calling it in full so far, is the worst entry name in F1 history.
No.
Yes, team sponsors are the norm, and almost every team on the grid has an official entry name that we gloss over. Mercedes, AMG, Petronas being one example, and last year's mouthful Aston Martin, Aramco, Cognizant being another. But people who make this argument miss the point. Every team on the grid with a sponsor name also has a real and meaningful identity. BWT Alpine is obviously Alpine, and MoneyGram Haas is still Haas. The only exception is Stake F1 team, but pretty much everybody's just calling that Sauber.
Yeah, so this is the worst name, because you actually go to the other name that's not called.
Anyway, because that's the team's underlying identity. The team formerly known as AlphaTauri,
it was
formerly known as Toro Rosso, doesn't have that. It's just had another makeover in the latest installment of Red Bull working out what to do with the team it's decided it needs more from. Just look at how we're all calling it RB instead of Racing Bulls, which Red Bull claims isn't what RB stands for, even though it has trademarked Racing Bulls and created branding for it. How stupid is that? It underlines what this team has lost since its Toro Rosso days. Yes, it is desperate for the team to be seen less like Red Bull's junior team, but this isn't the way to do it. Toro Rosso had its own heritage and meant something. Since it ditched that name, it has struggled for relevance, and this corporate dual sponsor team name's not going to help.
So it's equally bad as AlphaTauri.
We at least don't expect to have to cough out the whole name every time. Internally, it's been referred to by the acronym V.
Wait, can't you say just the RB car? Racing, but
Vcarb, which we now know is the car's model name, and in the media, the RB initials have been widely adopted. Neither of those are great, but hopefully it becomes simpler and clearer over time. We do find it a little strange that RB's new identity looks so similar to the blue and red Toro Rosso liveries, as it makes a brand new era that's presumably meant to be bold, impactful and reflective of the new partners feel 5 years old. But let's generously treat it as a modern throwback for now, especially as it generated a bit more positive attention around a much mocked new name.
True.
The livery is pretty much the only silver lining in this rebrand, as it will inject some much needed colour onto the grid, at least until the team realises it needs to save some weight and starts stripping it back to bare carbon.
Oh, so they're still better than the different cars. 1, 2. 1, 2. Here somewhere. Okay, let's see what did mention the controversial code there with the say inspiration. Yeah, yes. Red Bulls number 2, yes. I mean, you said that just McLaren was the only one that thought this was so controversial. I mean, F1, FIA, if they don't say anything, then it's not controversial. I mean, Renault went to Alpine, so I would say that was controversial. What do you mean, just we call it Sauber? I mean, can't you call this just RB, the Red Bulls? Yeah, sure. Let's go to the next clip. from P1. Our relieved reaction to the 2024 Visa Cash App RB car launch. Wait, did I? Wait, what? No. Man, goodness. Oh shit. I changed the wrong one. So, where the fuck did that change? Yay, P1. Oh shit. Let's see, do they have anything fun to say?
Our reaction to the Visa Cash App, Racing Bulls ATM, swipe card machine, credit card, car launch.
Okay, that was the money. Come on, it's Visa Cash App RB. Is it that really so hard to say?
Oh, that looks. Oh,
it's not carbon. Oh, there's no black. Oh, there's a bit of black, but not a lot of black.
Oh, that looks like the Toro Rosso, the banging one.
Toro Rosso
that
vibes.
Looks fire. Oh yes. Wait, that was it.
15 seconds.
That was it.
15 seconds.
We barely got to see the car.
I got up at 6 a.m. for 15 seconds. Paint, design, not just carbon. So it's actually a beautiful looking car, and I don't know whether. I mean, I do think it's really nice, and I think the Toro Rosso from previous looked really nice, and it's nice for it to come back. I wonder if there's an element where we're so sick deep down of seeing carbon cars as well that literally anything with colour we would have gone 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Actually, absolutely. What a banging livery.
They've done a very good job because they've got a lot of sponsors, and
yes.
It's very easy to make it quite busy, and it is quite busy, but because then you can start adding like too many colors, and you know how like we absolutely hated when they added the all in red last year on the Alpha Tower and it didn't quite look right, whereas this I think works. The only thing I don't like is the white lines are quite abrupt, but everything else.
Okay, you weird.
Is just really, really nice, and I'm really hoping from the pictures that they shared and the way they rendered it in their animation video, it looks like it is that Toro Rosso kind of like shiny metallic paint, because that's another thing. We're so used to matte liveries and them looking quite dull, that it looks like it's gonna be like that shiny silver, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean the white that you mentioned, I think, for me it looks reasonably well blended in. I know what you mean in terms of it's quite abrupt with the white, but I actually maybe prefer that to the block red that I think we had before with the Orland sponsorship and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it works quite well. The front wings obviously white as well with the Hugo, and yeah, I'm a fan. Question from Badger Sprite: is this the best livery so far? Yes. Or absolutely yes? Yes.
Absolutely yes.
I would say so. I think what they've done, and it makes sense, and I don't know why Alpine maybe didn't do the same, is paint it, especially if they're rebranding, right? This is what Vcarb are doing. They're trying to make the Visa stand out, obviously, massively well, and that's what they've done. Just paint it for the livery. Let's roll it out in testing and see how slow we are. And then, we had to strip back some paint. Exactly. And I think that should be the way to at least go from it from a brand perspective, but also to maybe not anger fans as much going into the season about how they're all going to be black. It's I'd like to see how much will be left, but I don't think they have much wiggle room with the sponsors that are on there.
For me,
thanks to sponsor.
Do I like it the most? I think probably yes.
For a great livery.
I do really like the McLaren and Stake as well, but I think this is
okay. I've not seen McLaren, and I will wait until they actually do their launch.
favourites so far. It's very, very cool indeed. And we'll just see now how much weight saving they decide to do.
Exactly. Wheelie Bad F1 comes in with, in this age where every other team has chosen carbon fibre over paint, why did Vcarb stick with colour?
Probably because of the sponsor, so we should thanks Visa Cash App for that.
And I think it is very much just a case of the rebrand, the launch.
And also they want to make a new car, so just have a livery for it.
Eyeballs on Visa Cash App RB and everything else that comes with it, because it's an important rebrand for the team. They need to get the message and the logo out there. So yeah, I do wonder whether they've gone, all right, you know, let's just make it look snazzy, and then we'll figure it out.
Just have a livery. That will make people just be happy.
Oh, if it's terrible, but look back at last year. McLaren, they had some chrome on it, and they were on the front row of the grid challenging Max Verstappen. Maybe there is something there.
I do wonder. You mentioned about like the fact that it is this new rebrand. Red Bull are, at the end of the day, they're there for marketing purposes to promote their brand in Formula One, and they've probably weighed up the option as a big, savvy marketing company and gone, I don't care if it's 1 second quicker over a 70-lap race. We are here to get our brand out there, and we want brand identity, and that's
and they're known as Visa Cash App RB, so they've got a lot of Red Bull have got a lot of brand identity with that name.
Yeah.
At MJ95, why have so many celebrities in Las Vegas for the launch and not stream it? This is my biggest bugbear. This is my, I wish we'd had more than a 2-minute 15 video on YouTube or a 15-second video on Twitter to unveil the car. You know, you've got Kendrick Lamar performing there. You've got Terry Crews doing social videos with the team. What? Where? Why? Why have we stopped? Why can't we just stick a little iPhone on a tripod and we'll let everybody, come in and tune in? And I don't know. For me, it doesn't make any sense to have a Vegas launch and to not live stream it to the world. I don't know. It just feels weird to me. There must be a reason. There must be a drawback somewhere, or they couldn't get X, Y, Z. But it just doesn't make sense, and how have they not got a workaround for it?
And the weird thing was, I think, as well, like obviously we got up at silly o'clock for us.
It was amazing launch for people that want to see actually the livery
in Europe to see the car, but you're literally talking like minutes before we know this launch is out, and there's like no tweets from the team, no one's tweeting anything. That was such a weird feeling.
There was like a little bit of Insta sort of, it's coming at past or whatever it might have been, but everyone was just like, well, what's going on? You would think that there would be a build-up to it so that we'd all know, all right, or maybe they didn't want to shout about the fact it wasn't being live streamed and they just wanted to be like, here you go. I don't know what their decisions were there, but everyone knew it was happening. They'd still kind of posted that it was launching on this day and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it just seems like very basic kind of social media strategy didn't really happen for a brand new launch of a brand new team or a rebranded team in Formula One.
Did they really? They did a great livery that make people talk about it.
Next question, TJ Snehasish. Why 2 Red Bull teams on the grid? Does that not sacrifice the integrity of the competition?
Oh.
Welcome to Formula One, where Toro Rosso / second Red Bull team, 2006, they've been around for. Does it sacrifice the integrity? No, because they are their own team. Maybe we will be changing that opinion if, as we've said many times in this podcast, Visa Cash App RB roll out Red Bull 2023 car and start getting podiums left, right and centre.
Wouldn't that be funny?
But until then, it's not like Red Bull the only people to have done that, because of course you had Racing Point copying Mercedes and then they thrust themselves up the grid. It's not just Red Bull, and there are of course ties within engine suppliers and teams, and Williams and Mercedes not necessarily working together like Team 1 and Team 2, but there are connections, there are relationships within Formula 1. It's not just Red Bull.
Mercedes use Williams as a sister team, put their young drivers in it.
Yeah, there's always internal politics.
Time. Audi. Never been in Formula 1.
Kom lite närmare semesterupplevelser utöver det vanliga. Bo på Apollo Mondo i sommar. Koncepthotell för er som vill få ut ännu mer av stunderna tillsammans.
Oh my gosh.
Boka på apollo.se.
And things like that in Formula 1. Obviously, this is an extreme example because it is two teams owned by the same entity, if you like. So, and then of course, there's been a little bit more controversy this year because they're now starting making more parts in Milton Keynes for this team. So that's caused controversy, but it's only ever controversial when they do well. When they were 10th in the constructors and barely scored a point, no one cared. Suddenly, if they start finishing races in 6th or 7th, even if it's that, like, people will start to complain about it and things like that. But I don't think it's a problem personally.
I will also say that, of course, this livery is probably my favourite, I would say. But Williams is a close second. I think what you know, let's not forget Williams. They also did paint their car to a degree, which is fantastic from Williams for now. But I think what tips Vcarb over the line, God, what an awful name, is the gloss. I think that's the nice kind of oh yeah, I forgot glossy paint exists on Formula 1 cars, and it's a nice throwback to a few years ago. So
True.
That pretty much sums it up, Tom Bellingham. An early morning podcast. Or how do you summarise your life? Your final thoughts?
I summarise it by saying thank you, Visa Cash App RB, for painting your car and not making us angry after getting up at 6 a.m. Well done.
5 actually. But anyway, I know we're going to get a lot of angry fans saying, I get up every morning. Shut the hell up. This is normal.
Yeah. Why you complaining about going up early?
Normal for me. I watch F1 races at 4 a.m. and every single time we complain, we also preface it and what's after it?
With a disclaimer.
Postface it with a disclaimer that we appreciate you and we think you're bloody amazing. Okay, we don't know how we would survive in those situations, but fair frickin' play is basically what we say to them. So yeah, that is my.
I mean, the easy way. Instead of going up early, just go to bed after you've seen it.
Final thoughts. Well done, everybody, for being able to get up at early times, and we will see you next week. What's next?
Next one is Aston Martin next week on Monday.
Oh, that will be a long one. Looking forward to that. I want another meme.
Hopefully not
of Lawrence Stroll walking up onto the stage with, like, you know how loads of people are making videos of different music of him walking up. I need that again. I need that in my life. So. Can't wait for that chat. All right, thank you, everybody. Lots of love. To be fair, this podcast will be going out before we're live on Twitch later today. It is actually P1's birthday, which should have been our final thought, realistically.
Yeah.
1 year today, P1 was born, which is crazy to say out loud.
That is mad, isn't it?
But we are going to be doing a subathon on Twitch from 5 p.m. UK time today. So when you do listen to this, set your alarm. Come join us. Come celebrate P1's birthday party.
Good vibes.
I might try and find some birthday party attire. No, not attire. I'm not going to wear things. I meant like no. Oh, Tommy, stop it. That'll be after 9 o'clock. That's the watershed. So anyway, this is going so sideways, and we'll see you later for a Twitch birthday party. If you want to come join, Matt P1 Tommy. Bye.
Bye. Happy birthday, P1.
Okay, that was. Let's see. That we want to stop that. Oh shit. And we go to that. Let me see. Yes. And then we wait. That we want to have And then it wasn't anything more to watch or listen, more or less. Oh, it's quiet. And nothing more from this Cash App RB F1 team. Well, I guess you can say this is the... And like they said, the people, probably many people, is the best car livery for now. Aston Martin could be better. More could be better. I mean, Ferrari. Mercedes sounds like they will do something bad. McLaren, I've not seen yet, but I will be seeing that 14. And they sound like, or sound, from what I've seen, look like also maybe here they will probably do something with carbon also. So let's see how good that turn out. And Red Bull that will be amazing. The both Red Bull cars have one of the best liveries. But we will watch more of this stuff when that day come. Until now, we hope we will see more color than carbon. But for now, but until then, I would say